Last week, we dove into the investigation into Mica Miller's death, revealing several unsettling details, and heard from Mica's sisters who testified that she'd been gathering evidence against her husband, John Paul Miller, and that she'd feared for her life. Other highlighted inconsistencies at the scene of the death, such as the location and condition of Mica's body, the placement of her belongings, and the stagnant water that did not match supposed events. Adding to the mystery, JP's public statements about Mica's mental health and his claims about her supposed suicidal tendencies were scrutinized, especially since the medical examiner had not yet confirmed the cause of death at that time. Despite JP's alibi, Mica's family and friends continue to challenge the suicide ruling, pushing for a deeper investigation into her tragic demise. In the final part of this series, Part 4, we will dig into more of JP's character as well as that of his father's and share with you what Mica's family is doing in the wake of her death to hopefully pave the way for easier convictions of domestic abuse for others in the future.
If ever your life could be a true crime podcast episode, then this podcast is for you. We're about to embark on a roller coaster of emotions, insights, survival, and stories about escape. So buckle up and let the journey begin.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back into the Escape Pod. I'm Julie.
I'm Charity.
A freezing Charity.
Yeah, just
It turned on us.
Bipolar vortex got us again, like a 40-degree swing in 2 days, and it's just, I can't.
Is that what you're escaping?
Sure.
Trying to?
Yeah, I have to bring my hand warmers out today. See? Julie and I got these for Christmas because it gets cold in the studio in the winter.
Yeah.
But this is not the winter.
Yeah.
So
I'm comfortable in here, but I did have my heater on in my office because it was
So if you guys see me put this
chilly.
on my nose, put it between my knees. Yeah. I'm frigid right now.
Well, I am just about a week away from escaping drivers who don't do right by the school zone rules. Lady today, I wish a cop would be there when this happens. I thought she was having car problems because she stopped in the crosswalk.
Oh,
right in front of the school.
it's not car problems. It's she has that special permit.
She has
that assholes seem to be able to get. I don't know how you register for these things.
I don't
They
either.
get them all the time. They don't have to use turn signals.
Yeah.
They can change lanes whenever they want.
Yeah.
They can park wherever they want.
Yeah.
Where were we the other day? I can't remember. But it was somewhere where you don't just park in the middle of the street. And these people literally parked in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
And it's like...
That's basically what she was doing.
This was fun, too. We were at a retail store I won't name because it's not their fault. And it's a one-way road down the parking lot. You know, it alternates. There's a family of 4 walking the whole breadth of where cars need to drive. And the guy looks at me like, what are you going to do? So I kind of went, rev. That's what I'm going to do, you jackass. Move. People have to drive here.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. Don't get it.
I don't either. I said to my kid, maybe she's having car problems. Because I thought, surely, it's one thing if the kid can literally hop out and run out and there's not.
Yeah.
But cars were backing up. The car in front of me went around her. I went around her. That's when I said, maybe she's actually having problems. No. A couple minutes later, she
has
right by me.
problems, but not those problems.
On that
For
note,
the record.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk
Fair.
about some other people who have problems today.
I know. I don't want to say I'm looking forward to it because it is a tragic story.
Awful.
And as
Yeah.
you said in part 1, the victim in this case really escaped in the worst way she could.
Yeah. One way or the other.
One way or the other,
Yep.
right? She's no longer with us. She doesn't have an opportunity to make her life right again. Anyway, so I have a lot of curiosity about this. So I am very interested in what comes up in part 4. Take it away.
Last episode in the series. We've never done a 4-parter before. Hopefully this is the first and last because it's really kicked my butt.
It has, but it's been
it's been emotional. But it's just so intriguing. Like I said, I took several runs at this topic before, and it just, I don't know. I had to get through it. You know what I mean? It just wouldn't leave me alone. I needed to do this. And I just hope if what I personally suspect is the case in her death, I hope there's justice. I hope her family can get that, because when you think, suicide is just, it's horrible for the people it leaves in its wake if that's what this is. But when any life is snuffed out like that, and you can just see it when you go through her life in her social media posts and all, it's just someone so beautiful and full of life and love and all these things, and just that was taken away, not just from her family, but from the world, from her congregation, her church family, all the things, her stepkids. It's just so upsetting. But anyway, so it sounds like this has gotten into your brain too. There's a lot more questions than answers. So today, like I said in the intro, we're going to take a bit of a different look and kind of put more emphasis on John Paul and his father. Do you remember that allegation Alison leveled in her affidavit in the first episode? Okay, well, there's some things that have come out against both of them in the wake of Mica's death. And this is where things get interesting. Because again, remember, when I first started, I'd heard a podcast done on this. All this stuff wasn't out yet, and it was still a little off. But then the first thing I found when I started researching it was that 911 audio. And I'm like, that does sound like case closed. But it just did not, I don't know. So to be clear, Mica's death was ruled a suicide eventually. And to date, John Paul Miller has not been publicly named as a suspect in her death. Okay. But do you remember that weird statement he made to his congregation 12 hours after she died?
Well, he did say she took her own life, even though at that point.
It hadn't been ruled. He basically said she'd struggled with her mental health, and that he had arguments with her family about her need to take medication and her alleged suicidal thoughts. He said, if a doctor, especially 7 doctors, especially nurses and counselors, all say this woman needs medicine or she's going to commit suicide, you tend to believe them, he said, especially when she comes off her medicine. She tries to commit suicide. Clearly, this guy's not a very good orator. I don't know how he was a pastor, but anyway. That's neither here nor there, I guess. Sorry, my fingers are burning now. Okay, so
one extreme to the other.
And then remember, he also just kind of mentioned it at the end of a sermon in passing, and also don't talk about this with each other. So what do you think?
That's a big ask.
What do you think when you hear that? I mean, the I don't know if matron of your church, but the first lady of your church, is no longer among the living, and you think you're not going to talk about it? Why do you not want people talking about it, mister? Anyway, or how about this? He said during her, remember, he had a separate funeral from her family. They were not at each other's services for Mica. So during his eulogy for Mica, he said, she was beautiful on the outside, but I got to lay next to her body and spend time with her body about 4 times this week. And each time it still didn't hit me. I thought she was going to wake up. I even tried to raise her from the dead one time this week.
What? That is creepy.
That's what I wrote here. Full creep factor. Like you were.
Yes. That is so weird.
Beyond A.
He laid with her 4 times. No.
I don't know. It sounds like somebody to me that is racked with guilt.
I just think it's weird.
Well,
guilt, no guilt.
But also beautiful on the outside.
Yeah, that's
Come on. Well, this does though speak to remember the sermon on how, what did he say? Something about how to make money and get a hot wife or something like that. Like what the is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Everything is wrong with this person. And maybe it was his dad, and we'll get to that. So, and then remember when I said he had another mistress when Mica died?
Oh, I don't remember that part.
Yeah.
So, yes, I do. Yeah. Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So,
sorry
in their statement on May 7th, the Robeson County Sheriff's Office shared that they determined Mica's husband, JP, was at an athletic event in Charleston, South Carolina on the day of Mica's death.
Okay. Well,
still don't buy it. But I will stress that they said surveillance footage placed his vehicle on Highway 17 bypass at precisely 2:22 p.m. on the day in question with an additional passenger present. I'm sorry, but since when is a person's vehicle the same thing as the person themselves? And then you've seen those footage videos of you can't quite see the driver. It's just the
right. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Authorities stated that neither he nor a woman he is allegedly romantically involved with were in North Carolina the night before and the day of Mica's death. Still doesn't add up to me. Also in the wake of Mica's death, JP was released from his pastoral duties, finally, at the Solid Rock Church for a time of healing, counseling, and guidance pursuant to our governing instrument. Their website had also been suspended. So whatever bylaws he had fooled the previous church council into thinking he had governorship, somehow they usurped him at this point.
Okay.
Maybe too many strikes finally. Also, when you can't walk back or explain away or he said, she said, because she's not around to say anything.
Right.
And John Paul, like so many narcissists, couldn't help himself. What do you think he's going to do, Julie?
I don't know.
Speak out. They all are smarter
Go in
than
front of a
everybody else.
camera?
Yeah. So he said he was planning to present more than 350 pieces of proof that show his side of the story. This includes information, he said, on what Mica really thought about her family and her lawyer. I watched this video, and it was just blustery. It was all about him.
Yeah.
All about him. He's just one of the most cringy people ever. He said, people forget Mica corresponded with me more than anybody else on the planet Earth. I know her heart, and I have her text messages, and we're going to disprove all that lies out there. All the lies out there. All the lies that are out there. How many different ways can I say that till I get it right? Last time was right. He added that, I have never once in my entire life ever hurt her in any way ever.
Well,
Do we remember the topless photos?
Right.
Do we remember the little notes
Post-its,
about how worthless you are and all
Mm-hmm.
that crap? Never heard her? Delusional, baby. And when he was asked to speak to people accusing him of Mica's death, he said,
She can't even say it with a straight face.
no, my face is seizing up. Okay. They're the biggest idiots on planet Earth.
Oh.
I think that's called projection, as my son would say to my mother. Okay, they're the biggest idiots on planet Earth. I am the only one actually not to blame. I am the only one that tried to help keep her alive. The 48 people I went to and said, quote, she needs her lithium or she's going to commit suicide. Don't let her get a gun. They had the information, especially her family, and did nothing. With me, she never committed suicide. With me, she's happy, healthy, and whole.
Wow.
I think a psychologist would have a field day with that statement.
Yeah.
Because that also sounds like I am not complicit here.
Right.
I am deluding myself. I am going to paint this fairy tale that I'm the victim here and all the stuff, like typical narcissist fashion. Then when addressing the abuse, he added, never once in any way, shape, or form. Not any type of abuse, not physical, no type of abuse ever. I took better care of her than any man could have possibly taken care of her in every way. She never had to cook a single meal. She never had to clean, not one time. She never had to work. All she had to do was take her medicine and enjoy her life. And I did everything I could to protect her from the abusive people that were trying to stop her from taking her medicine. Like, what on earth? How many jobs did she have at the church alone?
I was going to say, sounds like she worked quite a bit.
Sounds like she did.
Yeah.
He admitted to the tracking devices, claims they're for her own protection, Julie. Don't make that face. He was just trying to protect her. He also admitted to hiring a private investigator, get this, specifically to tell him if she went near a gun store.
Huh.
Oh, so now he's afraid of her?
Yeah.
Or I feel like he's just planting seeds. That's what I think. Okay. So remember Mica saying he had a bunch of guns in their home and that he'd been a felon prior. I
Oh,
can't remember if it was
yes.
Alison or Mica that said he'd been a felon. Well, John Paul was a Class C felon after pleading guilty to assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature in 1999 in Horry County, South Carolina. According to a post that I found from May 6th of 2024, this conviction stemmed from an incident in 98
Okay.
where he was charged with hitting a woman with his car. Not once, but twice. Because you really sometimes just have to drive that point home.
Oh.
But, okay, so this was in Myrtle Beach, Sun News on September 26, 98.
Okay.
This felony conviction resulted in him losing his right to vote and right to purchase a weapon, though he applied later to have those rights restored, I think in 2021. So hit a woman with his car. She probably turned him down in all his perverted ways. I bet it had something to do with that. I wish I knew who she was. Also, since Mica's passing, 2 women have come forward accusing him of sexual assault when they were underage.
Oh.
Shock. I'm sure you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And on November 1st, 2024, multiple law enforcement agents, including the FBI, conducted an investigation at his home and were seen carrying items out of the house late Friday afternoon, including boxes, a computer screen, and what looked like an external computer drive. Some sources say it's related to her death. Others say it's unrelated. But either way, they're clearly onto his trail for something that probably isn't going to bode well for this little punk. So now we're going to pivot. We're going to dive into these new accusations. So 2 women came forward after Mica's passing with some pretty strong accusations against JP and his father.
Okay.
Okay, so
Interesting.
we're going to call them Jane Doe. That's how they're actually filed in the court cases, Jane Does 1 and 2. So Jane Doe number 1 filed her lawsuit on February 25th of 25, alleging that John Paul sexually assaulted her in 1998 when she was 15 years old at the Cathedral Baptist Church. And again in 2023, which triggered repressed memories of the earlier assault. He was 19 when this happened. She said she was attending Sunday school at the All Nations Church when youth pastor John Paul engaged her in a seemingly innocent conversation. But then Jane Doe says John Paul forced her into his father's office, shutting the door behind him. He immediately became aggressive, physically overpowering the plaintiff and forcing her against the wall, the affidavit read. She pleaded with him to stop, afraid of getting caught due to the noise she was making. He led her from his father's office, forced her into his truck, and that's where he raped her. And I mean, she's 15. She'd been a virgin when this happened. She says she was overcome by shock and shame and, of course, fear, and she exhibited those clear signs of trauma, including depression, social withdrawal from family and friends. Just that shame eats at people, and
Yeah.
they don't want anybody to know. Her schoolwork, academic performance, all of that declined. She started doubting herself, and really, her self-confidence and all that went down in the months following the assault. And then those memories, she just kind of bottled them away.
Some people do. Yep.
So that was 98. 2023.
I know. This is
She
curious,
runs into
yeah.
JP, sees her. He's excited to see her. He leans in and hugs her, and then he shoves his hand down her pants and touches her genitals without her consent. There are people around. This is how bold and brash this man has been allowed to get away with seeing women as his playground for his whole freaking life.
Did anybody else see it?
Let me see if that...
Comes up.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going.
She
Sorry.
called him on his behavior when it happened, allegedly claiming that he'd been using his title as pastor to justify sexual assault. He basically shrugs it off. No man is without sin and temptation, and that God understands that. Free pass, baby. If you're a pastor, I guess, or this guy anyway. The suit also alleges that both John Paul and Reginald Wayne knew of each other's sexual conduct issues. And I'll get to those in a moment. So this happens, and then this assault, of course, brings up memories of the rape. And she also alleges that Reginald Wayne Miller, behind his religious facade, engaged in predatory conduct and sexual abuse, often targeting minors and concealing those exploits from the public. This lawsuit cites 2 sworn affidavits, the one from Alison that we've talked about, and Reginald Wayne Miller's ex-wife, Susan. So both of these ex-wives have come forward. Alison attested the things JP admitted to her about that inappropriate sexual contact with minors back when she was married to him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Susan attests that Wayne Miller subjected his family to both physical and emotional abuse. And her affidavit also states that he had a, quote, obsession with power and control that extended beyond his immediate family and into the church, where he engaged in inappropriate relationships with young men and women, many of whom were vulnerable members of the congregation. She believes John Paul adopted his father's predatory tendencies. What's more, several young men have come forward, even before Jane Doe number 1 did, alleging that Reginald Wayne Miller had made sexual advances toward them when they were minors.
Well, and JP said his dad had abused him.
Yes.
Didn't he?
He said that.
Yeah. So it tracks.
It tracks.
Like there seems to be
It
a
tracks. Not
pattern.
that he's honest, but maybe that was the one time he was. I don't know. But it does track. If he was trying to explain and have Alison feel sorry for him.
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, but my impression, so I didn't have it in the notes, but I feel like when I was reading all this stuff on Jane Doe number 1, it sounds like it was kind of like a social event. And he sees her, oh, hey, like your long lost friend. Or like I see you in a place that's out of context. Oh, Julie,
Yeah.
Except I don't stick my hand on your pants.
You don't.
I do not.
I can't
But
say
that's
I've
what
ever
he
had
did.
somebody do that.
Could you imagine?
Oh.
So I don't know if we've talked about this on the podcast, but a guy I didn't know one time. So I'm a very young mother. I mean, my daughter's still a baby. We came back here to visit. And we went to this old dive bar that we like to go to in college, met some college friends there. And I think they were playing pool or something. There was a big wall down the middle of the bar. This was the dive bar, the old Hall Inn for those of you folks who are Rapid Cityans from back in the day. So I went like on the other side by the cash register to get some change so we can put quarters in the pool table. And there's some cowboy standing there, tall. I'll never forget what he looks like. He came over. He just lifted up my dress. And my reaction, boom, and his head smacked against the wall. And I just started screaming at him about being like basically a caveman. Like, who the fuck do you think you are?
Yeah.
And if I tell my husband and all his buddies over there, you're dead. Well, then years later, which I didn't tell him till later, but because I didn't want a scene, because that's how So years later, my husband is now a cop. And I'm on a ride along with him. And we go to the Sally Port, and there's that dumbass getting arrested also, probably for lifting up some woman's skirt or sticking his hand down her freaking pants. But just clear that he was so like, probably a raging drunk, probably just out of his mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I like what I see, and I'm just going to try to,
for it.
does that work for you?
Right.
Gross. Yeah. Anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
Now there's Jane Doe number 2, but I'm going to
Okay.
take a drink because I'm feeling kind of.
You're a little worked up. For good reason. It's
Oh,
fair.
that guy pissed me. Can you imagine?
No.
I mean, God,
Nope.
even on a good day, but I just had a baby, so it's not like, nobody needs to
Yeah.
see my stuff. Just stop. Anyway, it was bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not okay.
Not okay.
Not okay at all.
And then there's Jane Doe number 2. March 5th of 25. So very recently, another woman
Wow.
came forward with accusations of unwanted sexual advances and other problematic behaviors against both John Paul and his father. She said that the church and school they operated effectively operated as one entity and that they were managed without adequate protection for minors. Basically, the church and school served as unlimited prey for these two. They had ample minors to groom while simultaneously getting financial support from the public under the guise of being holy men.
Right.
So Jane Doe number 2 was 14 years old when the alleged assaults occurred and said that Mica's death is what caused her to remember her repressed memories of the time with John Paul and Reginald Wade. She said she'd been a student at the Cathedral Hall Academy. That is one of the businesses that they were incorporated under in the fall of 99. She'd been enrolled there by her parents wanting her to have a good Christian education. Instead, the lawsuit states, plaintiff walked into a nightmare. Cathedral Hall Academy was not a school, it was a trap. So the filing states that the academy had no certified teachers, no legitimate coursework, no structured academics. And one day, she found herself alone at the church with John Paul, who was playing the piano, and offered to give her a lesson. Of course, she took him up on it. She's 14. This is exciting. When it was over and she was turning to leave, he pulled her in for a hug, she claims. And then his hands, go under her clothing and he begins fondling her butt. She did report it to a teacher, but instead of concerns and support, she was sent to Reginald's office, where he began demanding she repeat her accusation. So she probably thinks, okay, someone's going to listen to me. But he brings JP in. She has to state this accusation in front of the son that just bullied her into this, okay? She's terrified, but she still told the truth about what happened. And his response, this is Reginald's response, was to just shout at her about not lying about his son. And she was forced to write, "I will not lie about John Paul Miller," 5,000 times. It gets worse. From that day forward, they pack mentality'd on this girl. They tormented her. They turned other students at this false academy against her, calling her a whore, a liar, a slut. And I mean, we talked about it in my whole Pentecostal experience, being young and being called these things, just for not having a faith-based family. I mean, whatever. They humiliated her daily. Then one afternoon, 2 girls grabbed her from behind, ripped open her shirt, stuffed tissues into her bra, and JP was there the whole time laughing along. Another day, she was shoved into a bathroom stall, slapped by another student, and then even had bug spray sprayed into her mouth and eyes.
Yeah.
Gross. You just catch a whiff of that stuff. It's awful. When she was found crying, Reginald told her to stop disturbing the Lord's work and repent for your lies. So they just were not going to let up. On yet another day, JP finds her alone in a classroom, and he tells her that she'd failed a test. But if she stayed after class, he could fix it for her. She obeyed, having been so defeated, and he began asking her questions about if she liked him or if she had a boyfriend. Then, as predators are wont to do, he moved his hand to her knee, eliciting the freeze response in her. Meanwhile, he was whispering that he could offer her protection if she wanted it. Fucking creep. Then he grabbed her. He physically assaulted her by putting his hands under her shirt and touching her sexually. She struggled to push him away, but he was stronger and allegedly pushed her down. In yet another instance, she suffered. She'd brought a Harry Potter book to school and was sent to the office where she was told she was a servant of Satan. I guess billions of people on this planet are just screwed. Thank you, J.K. Rowling. And that if she continued down this path, whatever the hell that meant, she would be raped by demons.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean.
But remember, they have an inn, and they have an inn with demons. So,
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe that's where they're taking their cues from. And then Reginald Wayne, because clearly he's a theatrical MFer, sets the book on fire.
Oh.
And then beats her over the head with a Bible. This is a 16-year-old child we're talking about. How old's your oldest?
Right. 14.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. I mean, the gall is just unbelievable. She also states she is in possession of text messages from John Paul where he admits to having relationships with 2 different 15-year-old females when he was 19 and the youth pastor at this church/school/ trap or whatever it was called earlier. It would seem he has a thing for 15-year-old girls, and it didn't end when he was 19. So now let's pivot into the advocacy work Mica's family has launched in the wake of her passing. So after her death, my understanding is that they were able to go through Mica's private journals. And those detailed some pretty serious accounts of the abuse she allegedly endured at the hands of her much older husband. Their argument is that all the things she endured should be considered a form of domestic violence. And that is what they're pushing for in the state of South Carolina. So essentially, it would expand the definition of domestic violence to include any behavior that makes a person subordinate or dependent by isolating that person from sources of support, exploiting the person's resources and capacities for personal gain, and depriving the person of the means for independence, resistance, or escape. I can 1,000% get behind that. And I want to stress that prior to the release of this list, the extent of her suffering had not been known by any single person other than Mica and probably her husband. And the following is now what they're calling Mica's list.
Okay.
So if you hear that referenced or if it spreads across the country, this is what they are advocating. And these are all the things they believe John Paul did to their Mica before she died. I'm going to cry again. Okay. All right, this one's not going to be a surprise. Isolating Mica from her family and friends by confiscating her cell phone and hiding it from her. Depriving her of basic needs, including sleep and transportation. Stalking/tracking her whereabouts using private investigators and GPS tracking devices. Ignoring requests or demands to be left alone, including an alleged instance in which after a police officer warned John Paul to stop contacting Mica, he allegedly trespassed into her gated apartment community to leave a present on top of her vehicle. I don't know what the present is. Destruction of property. According to Mica's family, John Paul allegedly intimidated her by destroying her property, including keying her car, denting the hood with a dumbbell, slashing her tires on at least 5 occasions, and cutting up her passenger seat. Sexual promiscuity. Mica's family alleged that John Paul cheated on her many times and frequently sent nude photos of himself to other women. The list states that Miller even paid a woman from church $10,000 to destroy a sexually explicit video of himself and that he paid for sex with both men and women. Threats. John Paul would allegedly, quote, make videos of Mica in private settings and then threaten to upload them if she did not do what he wanted. In one instance, he posted that topless photo of Mica to the internet. Invasion of privacy. John Paul also allegedly actively sought out Mica's journals and diaries in which she kept a log of the abuse she claimed she was suffering. When he was able to locate them, her family says he destroyed them so she wasn't able to use them as evidence to prove his destructive behaviors and abusive tactics. They also claim he erased evidence, photos, videos, and writings she kept on her iCloud and cell phone. So remember when he he didn't break in. He went to had her committed, went into the hospital, took all her stuff. This is what he was doing, was taking care of business.
Yeah.
Because he knew she was ready to expose him. Convenient to get her. It just seems so convenient to have her committed, right? He's just trying to save her life, Julie. Come on.
Did he talk just like that?
He did. I mean, you heard that blubbering on the grass video that I played for you. Freak. Anyway, manipulating her devices and identity theft. Once he gained access to Mica's technology, he allegedly changed her passwords. He took over her social media accounts. Remember the 911 call? She's telling them he is impersonating me. iCloud, cell phone, email, and then he communicated with others as though he were Mica. He allegedly sent emails and texts from these accounts admitting bad things in an attempt to disgrace her name, engaging in lawfare. And in order to continue to control and intimidate Mica, her family alleges that John Paul often abused the legal process, including filing papers twice in probate court to have her involuntarily committed, claiming she was manic and a danger to herself. Claims which the presiding probate judge did not agree with, except for the one time. Do you remember that episode we did on, I don't remember the guy's name, but the roommate, the guy who would not leave.
Yeah, the serial
And he was really good in lawfare. I loved that term. He was really good about that too.
Yeah.
Or not good. He was skilled.
Skilled, yes. Very.
For nefarious purposes.
Correct.
Drugging. According to Mica's family, John Paul forced her to take lithium and forcefully gave her testosterone shots in her arms, thighs, and buttocks. He also allegedly made her swallow pills in his presence, and if he thought she didn't take them, he would cut them up and put them in her food. Yeah. Assault. Mica's family also claims her ex-husband physically abused her without leaving marks by allegedly finger punching her in the throat, holding her against the wall by her throat, slapping a drink out of her hand, taking a plate of food out of her hands while they were out in public and throwing it across the room. And remember that one 911 call? Remember there were several right before her death? And she was talking about him strangling her. Yeah. And sexual assault. According to Mica's family, her husband forced her to perform sexual acts against her will and allow others to touch her body against her will. He also demanded that she watch him in sexual acts with others. I mean,
icky.
Really, really icky. So all that to say, everybody's welcome to their own opinion in the courts and the investigators, all the stuff. I just hope if my suspicion is true, they find this guy out. And if not, and she did actually pull a trigger, did he coerce her? Can they figure out a way to demonstrate that he was still complicit in her death?
Yeah, partly. I mean, obviously, I think there's a lot of mental, emotional abuse here.
I think he's
even without all
mentally
the
ill,
physical
very
abuse.
unwell as well.
Yeah.
Maybe he needs lithium.
So taking or leaving her case aside, now there's other cases. There's allegations.
So it just keeps painting a larger and larger picture, you know? Learned it at the hands of his father's. Father's doing the same stuff. You get away with it for so long, and you have a narcissistic personality. You get pretty cocky. Hey, and God's on my side.
Yeah.
He understands sin and temptation. All I just have to do is ask for forgiveness, and I'm fine. Oh, and then I can do it again, and then it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Right.
It's not fine.
No.
So that is the unfortunate, tragic, sad story of Mica Miller, and I will keep my ears open.
Yeah.
I really, 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 really would love to celebrate
a
conviction of some sort.
Yeah.
And
Well,
if it's
sounds
not,
like there's a lot against
I mean, and if you've got the FBI taking stuff from your house,
Yeah.
they're onto something. Whether it's related to her death or
Right.
not, I don't know. I hope that we know sometime soon.
Yeah. Okay.
So sorry about that.
Well, we knew it was going to have a downer of an ending, right? Because
Yeah.
we knew the ending at the beginning. But I wish I could say, like, just reach out for help if you need help. She did reach out for help.
She was screaming for help.
Yeah.
She was doing all the right things. She was trying to create a whole new life. And I know that can be hard. But
I
it
think
sounds like
other
she had
than
a great
flat
support
out,
system.
like, leaving not just the town, but the region, the state, and trying to start over completely someplace else. But that is so much harder said than done.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and it isn't to say that some of the games that were being played wouldn't have continued to be played.
And see, even the thing when by the time we're done with Mica's list and you hear all these things that allegedly are coming from her journals and her family believes these things to be true, that this is what that relationship, that marriage to John Paul was like. Even if she started on that path of, I am going to liberate myself as hard as this is, she has a new apartment. She got her friend helped her get a car. She's at a new church, all the things. And it's still too heavy of a lift. I just cannot believe that, not like I knew her, but I feel like I do. I just can't believe she would take her own life in an unfamiliar place, making it hard for her family to access. You go to a remote area away from other people when you want to cover something up. So I just cannot get this image out of my mind of someone holding her at gunpoint. You're gonna say, well, could I call? At least I want my family to be able to find my body. And she's just resigned and numb of like, he got me. All these things I suspected, he got me. And I want my family to be able to find my body.
Yeah.
Knowing that this is the end and being resigned,
Yeah.
And I just can't get that out of my head.
Yeah. Well,
So
let us know if something new comes up. It is very, very possible that it will, because some of these allegations are very fresh. I mean, the allegations go
People
back
are
many
coming forward
years,
now,
but
yeah.
now we have quite a bit of evidence coming forward.
and I'm just so grateful. I know it's hard for people to relive their trauma when these things happen. It takes a tremendous amount of courage.
Yes, it does. Yes,
But-
it does.
They're doing it and they're facing those things, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And hopefully healing can follow. Hopefully. Yeah. We definitely need a break. We're going to take a quick break. Listen for the latest on our May listeners contest, and we'll be right back.
Hey, escape artists, grab your traumedy nerd hats. Spring is here and we're blooming with some fun.
Drum roll, please.
See that?
I love it. Introducing the Escape Pod Spring Trivia Challenge. It's your chance to flex those survivor smarts and snag some swag.
Starting May 14th, we're dropping weekly trivia questions from our wildest escape stories.
We'll post each week on our Facebook page at escapepod.traumedy. Answer correctly in the comments, tag a friend, and bam, you're getting a free Escape Pod sticker.
These aren't just stickers, Julie.
They are not.
Badges of honor.
So tune in, hit up at escapepod.traumedy on Facebook, and show us your escape IQ. Good luck. Welcome back into the Escape Pod, everybody. I'm Julie here with Charity, and we just wrapped up the fourth in a 4-part series about the tragic death of Mica Miller. And are you warm now? Did the hand warmers
I got
help?
so into the story, I forgot I was holding it, and now my hand's burned.
It's a little red.
It is red.
It's a little red. Tell me someplace
Matches my hair.
or something you would like to escape to.
I don't. I think it's my brain. Like,
turn it off.
well, here's
Try
the
to
deal.
turn it off.
Because, we make our employees here take PPL or lose it so that you can handle your mental health situation, right? And keep on top of it, because our direct service providers have very difficult jobs. All of our jobs here are very difficult in different ways, but equally difficult. And I just had a talk with our board president today, and she's like, you need to take time off.
Yeah.
Charity. And I'm like,
How?
how?
That's the hard part.
How?
Yeah.
How? Because a lot of my time off lately it's taking care of my mother-in-law during business hours of things she needs done during business hours. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's where my vacation time is going to.
Yeah.
I mean, I ate up all of my carryover moving her. Like, so I don't have as much to work with as I normally do. And so then that's stressful, because I really do want to take time off. Yeah. I need to. I don't want to, because we have so much momentum. I want to keep going, but I'm breaking. So last night we had an event, and I looked at my husband and said, not going. If you want to go, go. I'm not going. I'm going to sit in the bathtub.
Good.
I'm going to drink a carbless. I'm going to finish watching Lady Chatterley's Lover. And
I love it.
Isn't that a beautiful movie?
I've never seen it. I'm just saying, I love
It's
that
so
you
precious.
just
I had
took a break.
Chocolate chips, and I'm just like, this is
That
what I'm
sounds
gonna
like
do.
a great
And I
escape.
actually had a pretty decent sleep for the first
Good.
time in a couple weeks. So I'm gonna just keep trying that. I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe we do happy hour tonight. I don't know, but then it's gonna be just go to bed early.
Yeah.
and I don't know.
Sometimes it is the little things that just making sure you're doing
Like,
those little
all I
things
can do.
can help.
Well, then even like, okay, so he was going to the thing, and I'm like, so will you see my big chip? I'm like, I need to redo my nails. Like, maybe I'll sit here and I'll watch that movie and do my nails. And I'm like, that's just one more thing to do. I don't want any more things to do. I don't want a chore. I don't want anything to do. So I just laid in the bath, and then I got done, got into bed, and I laid in bed and watched something else.
Yeah.
And so
Well, we're
gonna
different
keep on with
because
that thing.
I have to do a little work from home because I work a little shorter work day. Thankful for the flexibility that I
You're
was given many
welcome.
years ago. So most of my day I am here, but I do typically have to do like an hour someplace else. So at home or first thing in the morning, at home at night or first thing in the morning. And I have found, though, when I have had to do longer days, or if I've had a weekend thing or had to work on the weekend for something, and I can get away with not taking my computer home, it's like freeing, just because I really have no choice but to just stop my brain from thinking about work for the evening. And it's really good for me. So I try, I'm thinking this summer, I hopefully can work long enough days that I can just hit off on my computer and walk out the door, and it is kind of freeing.
So I have arthritis in my. So look what I just did. I found this handy dandy thing, because it actually hurts to hold my phone case.
Yeah.
So I got one of those things, because I have a
cool.
wallet case. But then that just makes it easier for all the work stuff. As you're saying this, I'm like,
You're like, I have a new thing
all
to
the
help.
things right from work are all right here. I need
Yeah.
to just like,
Go to a different page. Yes.
Maybe I need to do that or just turn off all the alerts or something.
Yeah.
But then as soon as I do that, it's going to be, well, anyway, I'm just going to have anxiety attacks. So I'm just not going to even stop.
Please don't
thinking about
have
it.
anxiety attacks. Okay. That's going to do it for us for this time, right? Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Put a
We
fork in me.
appreciate you. We're on a mission to grow this podcast so we can pour more resources into One Heart in Rapid City, South Dakota. It's a nonprofit where every dollar empowers people to break free from crisis and reclaim their lives. More listeners, more downloads, more impact.
That's right. We're truly a podcast for a cause. It certainly is not enriching our lives at all. And here's where you come in. You can become a patron at escapepod.live. I think our tiers are $2, $5, $10 a month. So for just a minimal amount of contribution, you can unlock bonus content. We have a lot of good stuff on there and brewing, but you can also unlock the warm fuzzies of knowing that you're funding real life breakouts, and it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Just for a few bucks a month, you're not just a listener, you're a hero in our story helping us change other people's lives.
Yes, and please download. Downloading episodes beats streaming every time. It boosts our stats, pulls in more ad revenue, and helps us climb the charts so we can reach even more ears. Share us with a friend, rate and review wherever you listen, and hit the download button. It is a tiny click with a big ripple effect.
I will say, since we've added video,
It has helped. Yeah.
I don't watch my podcast, people. I don't get it. But thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Clearly, people like that. So we really want to hear from you. Connect, Charity, your hair's too red. Hey, I've had worse. Fine. But you can connect with us at escapepod.live. Follow us on our socials. Drop us a note at justbecause at escapepod.live or send your wild escape story to escapeartist at escapepod.live. Maybe we'll read it on the air.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It
And if you haven't caught our bonus mini-sodes yet, weekly content, we also have some gated content, a trauma toolkit that has been a lot of fun. How you doing with lesson number 1?
better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I liked your thing from today. Do you want to read that real quick? So this is how serious Julie is about the lesson number 1, which we developed it for not, was it that the procrastinating one?
Have we done that one yet?
Did we do a
I don't think we've
procrastinator?
done that
Okay,
one
maybe
yet.
we're getting to that one. But Julie is a notorious procrastinator. She admits it. And she
found a
found
meme.
the best thing today ever.
It says, the bottom says procrastination is for the weak, but it says, have you ever heard a crackhead say, I have no money, I'm not going to smoke today? No, they always find a way. Are you going to let a crackhead out hustle you today? I thought,
That's pretty motivating.
valid advice right there.
Yeah.
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 So there you go.
Yeah.
Keep the hustle on, but without the illicit drugs, please. Any hoodle, we are sealing the hatch on this episode of the Escape Pod. Remember, trauma may be inevitable, but how you grapple with it is optional. So please stay resilient.
And keep exposing narcissists.
And keep
Keep laughing. Bye, everybody.